term incumbent, but he also became the first openly gay man and first Asian Democrat elected to the Georgia General Assembly. As a first-year legislator, Sam had the honor to serve as a deputy whip in the Georgia House Democratic Caucus and had the privilege of co-sponsoring comprehensive statewide civil rights legislation. Welcome, Representative Sam Park.
Good evening. Thank you so much for the introduction. Hi everyone. Thank you for being here to help us empower the Asian American Pacific Islander community by encouraging them to vote in the most important consequential election of our lives. As the first Asian American Democrat ever elected to the Georgia General Assembly, I could not be more excited to elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who will become the first Asian American vice president in our history. Not only will she be making history, she's paving the way for people like us, you and me, to serve in the highest rungs of our government. Representation matters. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they also give me hope. Not only will they bring stability and real leadership back to the White House, we need people from working class backgrounds like Joe, from immigrant backgrounds like Kamala, in the White House if we want to support working class families and support immigrant families. They understand that America is a nation of immigrants, and they are committed to ensuring that every member of the AAPI community is treated with dignity, no matter their race or ethnicity, and has a fair shot at the American dream. They will work to protect and build on the Affordable Care Act to ensure that AAPIs who often face language and cultural barriers have access to health care. They'll invest in our students and educators and ensure that AAPI parents and children have access to resources and support so that they have every opportunity in the world. They'll work to counter the rise in hate crimes against our community, including providing resources and working with local leaders to combat bullying targeted at members of our community. And they'll secure our values as a nation of immigrants by immediately working with Congress to pass legislative immigration reform that modernizes our system with the priority on keeping our families together. But they can't do it alone. They need our help to turn out the vote like never before. We have within our power the ability to inspire and encourage new American communities, Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders to use the power they have and vote, vote, vote to save our democracy and bring about the change we need. So ignore all the nonsense, ignore all the misinformation and attacks. Focus on each and every voter every single day. And let's get Joe and Kamala elected this November. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you, Representative Sam Park. It is now my distinct honor to introduce to you all Congresswoman Grace Meng. Grace Meng is an American lawyer and politician serving as a Democratic member of the United States House of Representatives, representing New York's 6th Congressional District. Previously, she served as a member of the New York State Assembly, representing the 22nd Assembly District in Flushing, Queens. She's the first Asian American to be elected to Congress from New York. Ladies and gentlemen, Congresswoman Grace Meng.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for the introduction and thanks for inviting me on your virtual bus tour. I really wish that this was in person, but I hope I can take a rain check from all of you. You know, I'll tell you, in my time at the DNC, I think, please don't tell any other state, I think I've been to Georgia more than any other state. So you guys are one of my favorites, but I'm really excited to be on this bus tour with some superstars. Ravi Patel, we all know. Sam Park, you all know in Georgia. But the whole world, the whole country knows Sam Park now, especially after his one of his debut on during the Democratic Convention. And we were so excited. Sam, people were cheering for you from all corners of the country. So excited to be here with all of you. I was born and raised in Queens, New York, daughter of immigrants. My parents worked in a restaurant for most of my childhood and later on became restaurant owners, small business owners themselves. My story is so similar to so many immigrant families. regardless of where around the globe your family first came from. I never expected to get involved in politics. I never expected to be a part of Democratic Party politics either. But I will tell you, as we headed into the 2016 election and after the 2016 election, I realized that I wanted to be a part of a movement that made our party more responsive and more effective and did more, diverse and inclusive outreach. And you guys, you can ask anyone. I tell this story all the time. My first trip ever as a DNC vice chair was to Georgia. It was to help John Ossoff campaign. I actually went with my whole family. We went on our wedding anniversary. At that time, I remember that people on the ground were so happy because the DNC worked with the local party and the whole, all the progressive allies in hiring organizers that actually came from the neighborhoods and communities, who knew the neighborhoods, who spoke their languages in certain instances. And that's not rocket science, right? We shouldn't have been so excited that our party was doing effective outreach like that, but that's how much we had to do and how much we had to improve. And even though John Ossoff didn't win that race, collectively, the Democratic Party and the progressive ecosystem, I remember you guys registered over 8,000 voters. That is a statistic and a story that I tell everywhere. I am so impressed, and I tell everyone about the coalitions that all of you in Georgia have been building over the last few years, and that those are lessons that the rest of us around the country need to learn. Stacey Abrams, who ran the last year, in her race, she tripled the AAPI turnout. That's not by accident. That is through a lot of hard work, a lot of sweat, and a lot of love and investment. And so I just really wanted to be here today because I wanted to say thank you and to say how proud we are of you. When I was in Georgia during that one trip, I remember meeting an elderly African-American woman, and she told me, she was like, oh, this is so funny. Like, the Democrats never called me before. They never knocked on my door. And it made sense, right? That John Off seat was Newt Gingrich's seat. Like, why would Democrats waste resources there? But we've seen what happens when we leave communities out and unspoken to and not communicate with them for years and for decades. And so now we've learned our lesson. We are constantly striving to do better in places like Georgia and Texas. We're winning seats where years ago, even 2, 3, 4 years ago, I would have said, no way, right? So this is really through a lot of hard work. I was so excited to see Kamala Harris on the debate stage just a few days ago. It was historic. For the first time in all of our lives, we got to see a woman of color on the vice presidential stage. And not only that, an African-American woman, an Asian-American woman on the VP presidential stage. I mean, and you know what, like, I know we all watched and, no one really wondered if Kamala would do well or if she would beat Pence. I mean, his title literally is the head of the coronavirus task force through the White House. I mean, if ever anyone has failed miserably at a job, Kamala said it best: their mismanagement forfeits their right to re-election. Over 200,000 Americans dead because they couldn't do their job and to keep Americans healthy and alive. This administration from day one has constantly been creative and thought of ways to tear apart our communities, to break up our families, to break our hearts week after week. From the Muslim ban to separating infants and toddlers from their moms at the border, to performing hysterectomies on women, not even telling them what happened after the fact. To a president who can't even condemn white supremacy on the national, worldwide debate stage. So we deserve so much better. This is not the country that our parents, or whoever that first generation of immigrants in everyone's family, wherever they came from, whenever they came, this is not what they came for. And so we deserve better. Our community deserves better. And while even before this country was dealing with the actual impact of the coronavirus, our community, as you know, throughout the country, dealt with the effects of anti-Asian bigotry and discrimination, from verbal assaults to physical attacks that are still going on. Thousands and thousands of cases that we know about. We don't even know of the ones that we don't know about. You know, from our relatives who are terrified of going to the supermarkets because they're scared someone's going to do what they saw just happen on TV or on social media. This is very frightening. And so, you know, a few weeks ago, we had passed a resolution in Congress to condemn bigotry towards Asian Americans. This was non-controversial. Trump's name wasn't even in there, as much as I wanted to put it in there. It was non-controversial, but 164 Republicans, my colleagues, could not even bring themselves to vote for that resolution. So they have spoken loud and clear where they stand and whether or not they support our community. They can't even say publicly that they don't want people to commit hate crimes against Asian Americans, right? So we have a lot at stake here. And I just wanted to say I'm especially proud of our Georgia contingent delegation, all of you, because again, I tell people all the time, you can ask other state parties. I bring up Georgia in almost every single speech, talking about the coalitions that you've built. So from coronavirus, anti-Asian discrimination, to the murders of Americans like George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, our communities will only grow in strength and only grow more united and will be more effective as we work more closely together. And you've done that in Georgia. We need you to pull through this last 20 some days. We can make it happen in almost every battleground state. The number of eligible Asian voters outnumber the number of votes that Democrats lost by in 2016. We can be that margin of victory. So thank you everyone for the work that you're doing. Thanks for joining the bus tour. I can't wait to see you all in person one day soon again. And please be safe and healthy.
Thank you, Congresswoman Meng. It is now my pleasure to introduce an actor who's played in all of my favorite shows, Ravi Patel. Ravi Patel is a multi-hyphenate actor, filmmaker, and entrepreneur. He's been seen in HBO series, Warner Brothers, and Lionsgate Films, and formerly an investment banker. Ravi is the co-founder of This Saves Lives. For every one kosher bar sold, this company donates a meal packet to a child in need. And to date, This Saves Lives has donated more than 10 million nutrition packets to children across the globe. Ravi is also an active advisor and board member to multiple food, health, and wellness startups. Ladies and gentlemen, Ravi Patel.
Hi, thank you so much. What all your favorite shows? You must be watching some terrible stuff. I'm so sorry for you. So nice to meet you guys. Welcome to the corner of my master bedroom in Los Angeles, where the real action is this November. Just kidding. No action at all. Is that appropriate? Are we in a campaign event? I don't know. Anyway, look, if you're in this event right now, you are, you know what's going on. I don't need to tell you how important this is. You probably already know, you're probably one of the people in your community who is the one that they look to for advice and guidance. And I can tell you as someone who has never done anything around an election before, not because I don't care, but because I've always relied on someone around me to tell me what to do. And I've never really, been motivated to volunteer my time. Obviously, I am now in a complete panic and I feel regret and I don't want to feel this again. So this year I'm doing everything I can. And it started with, hey, I'm going to think about who are the people I actually know. Well, our community specifically, we are so intensely connected. We are family first. And as we just heard, our communities alone can turn all the elections around this year. Think specifically about our communities and how many non-voting people we know. Every Indian uncle and auntie, like more than 70% of them aren't voting. And they're just there waiting for us to put points on our board. You guys are the ones who can go make a difference there. I've been doing Zooms with everyone in my gigantic extended Patel family. I did one with my father and a bunch of his siblings and my cousins last weekend. And my dad said something really interesting. He said, you know, so many of us worked so hard to leave India to come to America because it was a place that was better. We would talk about India and be like, you know, those kinds of things would never happen in America. Such pride of making it here. We all know this story. My dad said something I had never heard him say. He said, you know, I don't feel that way anymore. I've never, since I've been in America, felt scared to go outside or for fear of hatred, or never in his life. Can you believe that? And this is a guy who got here in the 60s. That's where we're at. We're at a crisis that has nothing to do with politics, but empathy. You guys already know this. Here's the things you want to do, okay? Talk to the people you know. That means your parents, your cousins. Get your cousins to call their parents. Call your best friends. I'm just realizing I have nail polish on because I have a 3-year-old daughter. Anyway, talk to those people, and what you want to equip them with is you want to go to iwillvote.com for Georgia. I'm assuming there's an iwillvote.com/GA because there's something like that for each state. And it takes like 3 minutes to check that you're registered to vote. And if you're not, you can register. Then from there, you can, what I've been doing with my people is I'm like, hey, once I make sure you're registered to vote, I'm going to call you and check up on you to make sure you're doing the same thing with your family. So I'm running a little election Ponzi scheme. I think this is actually just how campaigns work. I don't know why I had to use the word Ponzi in there. Anyway, you use that website. And the other thing I would say is this. I've used my Zooms. This is your call. You know, generally speaking, Americans don't like talking about politics. I think our communities are the exact opposite. We're opinions first and boundaries later. And so I think that's actually an opportunity to talk to everyone in the family about politics. And I think the way to talk about it is to not talk about politics. Talk about what matters to you. Talk about what matters to you right now. And that's something that everyone can get together on. And you can do it in a way that doesn't piss off your favorite uncle who happens to be nuts. Anyway, you guys, I'm so excited that you're here. I'm excited to be on this panel with all of you. Let's just remember, we have, 3.5 weeks now, guys, to do as much work as we can. And let's not look back and regret not having done more. I really appreciate you guys all being here, and it's nice meeting you.
All right, thank you, Ravi. And now to speak about voter protection, we have Asna Ashfaq, a voter protection hotline organizer with the Democratic Party of Georgia and recent graduate of Georgia State University studying political science and international affairs. Welcome, Asna.
Oh, hello. Thank you guys so much for having me. I love Georgia. I born and raised in the South, and I am the voter protection hotline organizer for Hindi and Urdu specifically. So DPG has recently expanded our voter protection capacity. So we cover English, Spanish, Mandarin, Hindi and Urdu, Korean, and Vietnamese. And so because DPG realized that the AAPI community is it's very prominent in Georgia, and in places where in Gwinnett and and CD7, we that community is large, and we it's important to target them. And so we are voter protection. We help with people if they have any questions, if they think that they've been purged, if they think that there's some missing registration. Very important this year, vote by mail questions, because it is it's something that not voters usually have done. So that's been our most hotline frequently asked question are the specific vote by mail things. And then on election day, we'll be there to if there's any voter intimidation, ADA violation, if a polling place was closed and voters weren't notified in time. So the hotline, on election day, will be that capacity. And so yes, if your friends need any help or just want to know, I will put our voter protection hotline in the chat box. Feel free to call us. And thank you guys so much. Trivia and phone banking, my favorite.
Woo! All right, thank you, Asna. And now to close out, we are going to play a game with our panelists called the Margin of Victory Trivia. Not to worry, our friends in the audience can also participate by responding to the poll that pops up. This Margin of Victory Trivia will feature questions that are a mix of AAPI pop culture, fun facts about Georgia, and key voter information. Afterwards, we're going to end with a call to action and phone bank to some young blood AAPI voters. So are you ready? The first question is for Representative Sam Park. What is the first day of early in-person voting in Georgia? Is it A, Monday, October 12th, B, Sunday, October 11th, or C, Tuesday, November 3rd?
Do I say it or do I click it or what do I do here?
You can say it, share it with the group.
Monday, October 12th, just a few days away. Early voting begins and it ends on October 30th. So we have a few weeks of in-person early voting.
All right, and let's see, we got 97% of the audience got it correct. Woo! We don't have sound effects. We tried it, it didn't work as well. So I'm using my maraca. Okay, question number 2 to Congresswoman Grace Meng. What year did Georgia have its first Asian American Democrat serve in the state legislature? Bonus points if you know who it is. A, 2001, B, 1999, C, 1982, or D, 2017?
Can I wait 30 seconds? Let everyone get a chance. People in Georgia better know this answer. Sam Park, D.
D, Sam Park, and you are correct, along with 61% of our audience. You go, audience. All right, question number 3 for Ravi Patel. What is Senator Harris' middle name? Is it A, Margaret, B, Priyanka, C, Devi, D, I'm speaking?
From here on out, it's definitely D. Can we agree on that, guys? Don't even, I mean, let's get it done formally.
Yes, we got to work on getting it legally changed to Senator Kamala, I'm speaking Harris. But the
Going
real
with D.
answer,
Going with D.
going with D.
Mm-hmm.
The real answer is C, Davey, but we're just going to go with D. I mean,
yeah.
I'm just going to say
yeah, this
D.
quiz is dated.
This quiz is dated. All right, and for everyone, what is the best voting plan? Is it A, mailing back your completed ballot as soon as you get it? Or is it B, going to your nearest drop box and dropping it off as soon as you can? C, showing up to early in-person voting on Monday? Or is it D, all of the above?
I think as long as you're voting as soon as possible, you're doing a very good thing, right?
Sounds good to me.
Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say all of the above. I just dropped my absentee ballot the other day, and go to georgiaballotdropbox.org to find a drop box near you.
Awesome. All right, and we've heard from the rest of the audience. It's all of the above. All of the above. Really, there's no wrong way right now. Anyway, just vote, please. So yeah, let's wrap up. And this is a question to everyone. What is your personal plan to vote? And let's start with Ravi.
I believe we went and dropped them off today, actually.
Nice.
So yeah, it's happening.
Already voted.
Yeah.
Representative Park.
Likewise, just dropped my absentee ballot off the other day.
Awesome. And Congresswoman Meng.
I will be going to early voting at the end of the month.
Awesome. I'm early voting too. I mean, I just like going in person. All right, so we'll kick it over to Russellie to start off with our call to action.
Perhaps I should unmute myself. Well, thank you all for coming today. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to launch into a little training on how you can phone bank. Thank you so much for the panelists who have attended today. The Asian American vote is really what can push us towards victory. So what we're going to do is call out to the young AAPI voters in Georgia. You're welcome to stay with us, panelists. Otherwise, you better be calling too. All right, so let me thank you all for coming. So for those of you still on the webinar, I'm going to share my screen and launch into the training. And then I'm going to share with you the VPB link. If you have questions after the training, well, let me stop the recording. If you have questions after the training, I will also put in a link to a meeting where you can meet with someone and then they can help you with the next steps if there was any questions after the training. And Asna is going to be on the line also if there's something that I forget to share. But first, let me stop the recording.